What is up, people? It is I, Cribus136, bringing to you the patch review. This happened yesterday, no, 2 days ago, the end of 2 days ago, so it's about a day and a half from now. Whatever, the point is about 2 days ago. I knew about it when it happened, a couple hours after it happened, but I just didn't get the chance to do the review this weekend. I figured today is better. I don't know if I'm going to be playing after this for anybody who's just going to be watching this live, but those on YouTube, it doesn't actually matter. So we're going to dive right in. The patch is notable. It's mostly talent changes, but there's also some hero changes that go along with that. There's no items besides these two. So let's dive in. Royal Jelly buff is now duplicated in illusions. This means that you can't tell the difference between the hero and the illusion based on the Royal Jelly buff. I don't know if it actually has an effect, meaning increased mana regen and health regen. It doesn't really matter because the regen is so minor, you would never be able to tell the difference based on that. It's just a quality of life, just to make it, you know, so that this doesn't hurt you when you have illusions. Illusionist Cape. Illusions now die if the item is unequipped. This is to stop people from abusing the fact that you can take your Illusionist Cape, put it on, wait the 7 seconds, send an illusion out, take it off, put on a more beneficial neutral item like whatever you want, and then use that illusion for its duration, and then rinse and repeat. I like this because I hate when people can do weird exploits based on those sorts of things, so good. Alchemist. All of his talents got adjusted. Nerf to the attack speed, which is interesting, and the damage nerf. But the Unstable Concoction got a buff, which is crazy, because that's actually the better talent tree. The health got a buff, which is fine, and the damage got a buff as well. So expect to see Alchemist in your pubs, because most good Alchemists do the Unstable Concoction, and they spam it. They'll blink in, and they'll just do a full duration stun. They'll BKB or whatever they have to do. They'll start doing their damage, and then they'll just start, charging it again because of how fast it comes off cooldown, especially with this. And they'll do another, gigantic amount of damage. Because this damage, too, if I remember correctly, it doesn't scale off of how long you hold it. It's just added. So you can just do a quick stun, too, and it still does a lot of damage. Anti-Mage. The Mana Void talent got better, just to make sure that your Mana Void's always up. This is a 15-second cooldown once you get this talent, which is a very important difference between the 20 that it used to be. It means that Anti-Mage is an even harder counter to those heroes that are big mana sponges. Storm Spirit, Skywrath Mage, heroes like that. It's going to be even harder OD. Harder to work around Anti-Mage because that cooldown is so low that you can't even see it pop on somebody else, then decide you're going to spend your mana. It's up so fast. Axe strength gain was reduced by 0.2. He's just a little bit too tanky, I guess. I don't really see Axe as a particularly strong hero in a lot of contexts, but I'm glad to see this because it means that Axe is going to have less damage and less health. His talent did go up, though, so obviously over the course of a game, he's going to end up being similarly spec'd, because at level 10, he can take the 2 that he'd be missing and get it back. So he's actually going to be fine around that level 10. If he decides to take the strength, he'll be equal to what he used to be. However, that means he has to take that, which he's not going to, probably. Well, I guess he will compared to attack speed. His attack speed turned into move speed. A lot of these are refixing, so I'm going to say refixing. They're refixing a lot of these talents, so the attack speed gets bumped back, move speed gets bumped forward. I would take the movement speed over strength any day. It's just more important. The mana regen was nerfed. It's one of many mana regens that got changed in this patch. Biggest change, though, is at 25, the Berserker's Call AoE got increased by 20. This is a huge Berserker's Call. It already was. It's gigantic. So level 25 Axe is going to be able to call basically the entire team, even if they start to split, which is going to make a lot of bigger team plays. So I think overall this is probably a buff, especially getting the move speed earlier means Axe can chase a lot. Level 10 means Axe can just run at you. Battle Hunger, he's faster. He's just going to get you. So even though he got the small nerf, I think it's better once he gets into that early mid game. He's going to be a menace, even if it hurts his laning a little bit by making him a little weaker. Bane. They kicked his cast range back, moved magic resistance up. They actually buffed the cast range, so technically speaking, that's beneficial as a total number. Spell amp went up, not that that matters. And they changed the lifesteal to negative 3-second Nightmare cooldown, which is probably better. The lifesteal's kind of stupid anyway. Bane doesn't benefit a lot from that. So the Nightmare cooldown is a lot bigger because that means that Bane can, get more people disabled during a fight, which is kind of his point. He's probably one of the best people to do that now, especially with this. So I like to see that with Bane. This is nice. Bat Rider, Flame Break duration for the talent went down because Flame Break is very strong. Is Flame Break his... It's his explosive bottle, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So it doesn't last as long, but the cooldown did get changed more. So 2.5, so minus 0.5, but 1 more second off the cooldown. So I'm going to check this for a second because I'm curious how long this actually is. So -8 versus what it used to be. Bat Rider. So the cooldown will go to 7. And you can make the duration up to 10. So a 10-second duration with a 7-second cooldown means you can continuously have someone burning forever. Granted, the bigger thing is also impact damage and the movement that it forces you, but that's a very interesting situation to be in for Bat Rider. It's not that he couldn't do it before, because he still could, but it's easier for him to keep the debuff on people. Beastmaster's base damage reduced by 4. This is a dramatic change. It's going to reduce his ability to harass, his ability to deny, last hit, fight early. That's a very big nerf. Instead of having the earlier boar damage, they gave Hawk cooldown. That's very nice in the early game, obviously, because it's 15. It's a early mid-game. It's nice to have the Hawk's cooldown because he's going to have vision, basically, that isn't ward, so it's nice to kind of just, like, see what you want to see. The problem is that's probably less important than suddenly having a spike in boar damage. They put the boar damage back to 20 instead, and even though they did increase it, it's kind of too late at that point because people are tanking up significantly in those 5 levels, especially considering... getting to the mid-levels, I think it's, what, to 13 or whatever, got elongated. It's going to take so long to get to that people are going to have a lot of tanky items. And then instead of Hawk cooldown later, they put Wild Axe's damage. But this is too late, too. I think these are generally nerfs because it's going to put the things where he doesn't need them. He needed that Wild Axe's damage earlier to nuke down supports, but now it's so late that supports don't care that much. So this is really a shake-up to Beastmaster. He's probably going to drop pretty considerably. He's probably still a good hero because his ult is so good, but it's just painful to see all these changes. Brewmaster, another reduction to Primal Split. They keep doing this back and forth, like how much of the cooldown can you hit of Primal Split. So it's 65 seconds for Brewmaster. That brings it to 55 seconds off. And it's 20 seconds of that, so he's only down for 35 seconds, I think, if I'm doing my math correctly. You know, it's nice, it's just not, I don't know. I don't think it's going to fix Brewmaster. Broodmother, instead of health, she gets early agility. That's a nerf, actually, because she needs the health so that she can keep doing ult long enough. It does help her pushing, but it doesn't help her fighting. The agility got changed to attack speed. That's nice. Because the attack speed was too late probably, so this is really nice for the fighting. But the health got pushed way back, so I would say it's overall a nerf just because you needed that health early. But overall it's not too bad. It's just a little bit of a shake-up. I don't know. I don't really play a lot of Broodmother. Centaur Warrunner, instead of evasion, he gets 5 health regen. That's probably better for him because evasion hurts. He has armor and usually buys, Crimson Guards. Like, who cared about 8% evasion? Health regen makes a lot more sense because he's okay with getting hit. He'll just regen it back. Instead of strength, though, which really does hurt because the strength was, buffing return, he gets -20 Stampede cooldown. That's probably better, but I can see how that could be annoying to lose the strength. Stampede is 90 seconds. So he brings it down to 70. I mean, I don't know. That's probably a buff. It's just annoying for Centaur players because a lot of them just like to be big and tanky and in the way and get a lot of return, damage and all that, but obviously this is a little bit of a nerf to that, but it does make him more of like a utility, so it doesn't do as much damage, but he does help his team a lot more. The Hoof Stomp buff went down, so he can't stun as long either. This is overall, I'd say everything besides that 10 talents, and could be a nerf, could be a buff. It just changes the way Centaur's played. We'll see. I think he's going to be less of like I get in there and right-click you really hard, and a little bit more of I hit you hard-ish, but I'm also doing other things. Like, that's what I see from this. A little bit of love to Chaos Knight's talents. I think they realized they overdid it for him in particular. He needs the extra 1 to stats. I think that's very nice for him, and the extra 5 movement speed is very nice too. He's just not that fast. He starts at a decent speed, but since people above 300 base lost speed comparative to everybody else, I think it's nice to see him get a little more speed. Clank Searing Arrows got nerfed. It's in between where it used to be. It used to be 20 to 50, then it was 30 to 60, now it's 25 to 55, so it's like that nice middle ground, I guess. Almost all of his talents got buffed. A little bit more strength, more agility. Burning Army cooldown is much more dramatic. I actually like that now. I often don't take it because I like the other 15 talent. extra searing arrows damage, but now like in that spot that it's in, I think burning army cooldown might be better. And the Death Pact Teal is huge. Oh my gosh, I always love taking Death Pact Teal. It's so good. And now that it's 50 more, it's just that quick, like you're middle of the fight, just like boom, and you know you live because you can take a creep off the side. Crystal Nova cooldown, instead of negative 1.5, it's negative 2. Honestly, I love that. I don't like the magic resistance that much at all. I don't find that small amount to be the difference unless you're facing like a Zeus or something. So I think this is almost a no-brainer. It's such a good cooldown reduction. It's already a low cooldown, so this is awesome. Let's see. Instead of Ion Shell Radius, which was nice, I guess, because it was hard to get away, Vacuum AoE, which is probably better because it sets up more, because it pulls people in more. So I'd say that's a buff, even though it's a little different. And instead of later Vacuum AoE, it's the Ion Shell Radius. So they just switched them, and I think they switched them, well, maybe that's a nerf, because you usually don't need the big ults until level 15-ish. That's when people are getting their level 2 ults, and that's when like you're being more relevant. So maybe that sucks for him. It's a minor difference, but I don't know. It sucks that he has to take it earlier and has to wait for the Ion Shell. And now Ion Shell is competing with health regen. I'm not sure about that. I am glad they nerfed this little Ion Shell damage, though. I mean, it's probably too much for him. I think Darkseer was fine, but all the same. Dark Willow got a big change. Instead of damage, she just gets int. This is going to reduce her damage, obviously, because the int doesn't affect much else. That's the big thing about intelligence. It's going to increase her mana pool and her mana regen, but other than that, it's just worse because it's a much lower number, so it makes her much worse at just right-clicking, which is huge because, you know, at level 10, a lot of people were taking this because they didn't care much for the cast range, and they were like, oh, even though it's good, they'd be like, oh, I'm going to, like, do a Dark Willow core kind of build, right? Well, that's nerfed because you lose 15 damage. And instead of spell Lifesteal, which people liked because you could spell Lifesteal off of her Aghanim's Shadow Realm, you know, now instead it's damage. And now, granted, the damage is higher, but you have to wait longer. But that could be okay, right? It's 20, but, you know, that could be fine. You have to wait longer until she's a little relevant in that regard, but sure. And they buffed the Terrorize duration, which is nice, but they nerfed the attack speed at 25. Instead of 140, it's 110. That's a 30 attack speed difference, which is dramatic. I think they're basically saying, look, if you still want to go right-click Willow with an Aghanims, you can go ahead. We're just going to nerf that. That's pretty much all we're nerfing, basically. If you're going to go for the more, like, support Willow, you're almost unaffected entirely, except you still get to benefit from this Terrorize, because even a support Willow would take Terrorize. In fact, only a support Willow would take Terrorize, basically. So, it works out fine, I guess. Instead of health, Disruptor gets magic resistance. It's probably actually better. There's a lot of health, so I'm not sure, but it depends who Disruptor's facing. Disruptor doesn't really live throughout physical nuke anyway. If a PA jumps on Disruptor, Disruptor just glimpses, right? And if their BKB, he dies, regardless of health. It's nice for magic because magic's consistent. Someone's throwing lightning bolts at them. Someone's throwing, you know, earth spike, whatever. It means it's harder to just nuke a Disruptor as the enemy support, so it keeps him in the fight longer. Doom, instead of evasion, which I thought was always meh, I've taken it, don't get me wrong. It's plus 3 second Doom duration. I think that's way better. Like, that's so good. I would be so tempted to never take the Devour bonus gold. I know it's big for getting ahead. If you have, like, early levels, you can just, like, suddenly have so much money. So it could totally be worth it taking the Devour bonus gold, but the Doom duration is, ugh. It is very, ugh. Like, that's so much, like, extra 3 seconds on top of what's already a ridiculous duration. It lasts a 16 seconds base. You increase it to 19. And no, you can't change it any other way. You increase it to 19. Like, that's so long to be silenced and muted. It's huge. It also increases cleave by 10%. It's minor, but it's nice. So this is a good buff to Doom. Dragonite, his mana regen talent went down, meaning Dragonite has to rely on his Soul Ring. Health talent went up. Hold on a second. Alright. Sorry for the delay, guys. There was a huge water issue. Our drainage pipe for our house was apparently it's clogged up, so we've stopped using water, so it's not leaking anymore, but it was leaking quite heavily. I heard it through my headset, and I was like, what is that? So I had to go check it out. I didn't know what it was, but we figured it out, so it's all good. Problem is mostly solved at the moment. Anyway, we were on Dragonite. I think these changes are minor. I mean, it's nice for Dragonite to have more health, but it's so minor in the long run. I think the mana is a bigger nerf for him. Drow, buffing on the talent, which is minor, but it is nice to give her more health, especially. Instead of movement speed, she gets the Gust Blind earlier. I actually think this is a nerf. It's nice to get the Gust Blind for fights, but Drow's usually not ready to fight at level 10 in my experience. So I'm going to see this as probably a nerf. Because you want that movement speed so you can farm faster. And so you can poke at people at towers. So you're going to be able to push the towers worse now because you're worried that people are going to chase you down. Elder Titan, instead of health, strength. That means more damage, but obviously instead of the 150 health, you get 160. Oh, it's better. Okay, it's just better. It's just a buff. You get 10 health and 8 damage, basically. That's nice for Elder Titan. Echo Stomp talent went down by 25 because it's annoying to be being hit while you're slept but still not wake up, so it's just making that harder. They hit Ember's talent for damage because obviously the damage is a little bit high right now. They also changed the Sleight of Fist hero damage up. So they're fine with you having damage just as long as you're sliding, which is weird because you're usually sliding anyway. They nerfed the restored remnant charge time by 1 on the talent. It's minor, but it's nice. It makes him just the tiniest bit easier to catch. It's minor in a large scale, but I'm glad because I hate Ember Spirit when I'm against him, so good. Enigma, instead of extra damage from each instance, it's extra stun. The reason why that matters and why I think it's a huge buff, it's like a sleeper this patch, is right now it stuns you for a whole second, and it stuns you every 2 seconds, right? So you're only up for a second. If you're adding 0.25, it's 1.25 seconds stunned, and then 0.75 seconds unstunned, which means you're actually being like borderline held down forever. That's a very big difference. As much as it's less damage, you can do more damage by right-clicking while they're stunned, so I think it's a big buff. Attack speed buff on Void, it's minor, but it's competing with Time Walk cast range, which I know a lot of people take, so I don't think it's a huge deal, but it's just making it a little bit more alluring. Movement speed nerfed on Grimstroke. He's too fast. He has a slow anyway. He doesn't need it. I think it's dumb that he gets so much speed considering that he has a huge line slow. Gyrocopter, they nerfed the damage. They nerfed the health. They moved the Rocket Barrage damage back and moved the call down earlier. I think that's probably overall a buff because Rocket Barrage isn't doing a lot of your damage early. I actually would never take the Rocket Barrage damage ever. I mean that too. Like, I don't know. Movement speed's more important, as is everything else it was comparing with. So I don't think that moving the Rocket Barrage anywhere is going to make it more alluring, in my opinion. I know it's a lot of damage, but like, so I think having the better of those talents go down is nice, because this is actually a useful talent. Huskar, instead of extra strength, he has better Berserker's Blood regen, so obviously this is going to make him harder to kill over a long fight. However, it's easier to nuke him because his total health pool will be down. So I think this is overall going to hurt Huskar against nukers, including physical nukers like PA, Sven maybe. But it's obviously a buff against, like, you know, slow damage. Like a Spectre would struggle, perhaps. Chaos Meter contact damage is dramatically improved at 10. That's so big. That's so much damage. 20 extra damage per tick it's touching you. Huge. Instead of armor, Io got the relocate cooldown earlier and actually better. So Io can be a real menace with relocating. So I actually think Io might raise in win rate at probably all levels. And health later, which is probably better than armor since Io drains health. So the armor didn't help as much as just having flat HP. Extra attack range on Jakiro's talent, making him unbelievably sniper-esque. And dual breath burn went down because it's probably too much. It does a lot of damage. So Jakiro got some love and some hate. I usually don't take the attack range. I usually rather take the spell amp because that early level 10 jump that you get, it's not that I'm trying to be a core, but I can clear waves, I can push better, and I actually punish supports who go close. I'm tanky because I have a bracer and usually build something else that gives health when I'm Jakiro. So I'm almost like saying like, oh, I already have a bunch of strength gain. I'm a tanky hero. If you come near me, I'm gonna punish you. And I make the support not want to stun me because we're gonna trade and they're gonna take a bunch of damage. And that way they try to stay away. But that gives me the ability to use Ice Path to save my core, because if they're stunning my core instead, Ice Path block their core from going on my core, and everything usually works out. But it is more alluring now the attack range is higher. You could push better. Helm of the Dom didn't work when you were Omni Slashed. I don't know why. I guess that's weird, right? So they fixed it. Omni Slash now waits 0.15 seconds before ending when it doesn't find any valid target rather than ending instantly. That means that if somebody left vision for like a split second, you have a chance to reacquire if they get back in vision within 0.15 seconds. It's so minor, but it actually will change some of those like corner cases where someone literally, you lose vision for a millisecond. And you gain vision again, but then you stop omniing. So it's just going to fix a couple cases. I don't think it's going to be a major change. Blade Fury movement speed went up by 20. I actually think now I might take this. The 20 attack speed's nice, but that's so fast. He's so speedy. Buffed the Omni Slash duration, which is really nice. It's back to where it was before they nerfed it, I think. Coddle base damage reduced by 2. It makes Coddle a terrible laner. You just can't trade. You don't do any damage. You know, it's pretty not good for Coddle. It's painful. Kunkka, extra strength, extra Tiebreaker cleave. I mean, that's going to make Kunkka a little better just because that extra damage is really what Kunkka's about. Now, usually Kunkkas go tanky, Radiance and stuff. So the extra 2 strength is going to go towards that effect. And bigger cleaves means that even if he's going tanky, he's still going to do a crazy good cleave. So Kunkka's going to love these changes. I think he's going to be played a lot more, even though he's already popular in my experience. Legion Commander got a little buff there. They changed overwhelming odds hero damage to cooldown of the cooldown. What? I said I was finishing up. Hold on. I'll do it now. Longest patch notes of my life. I'm back. At least for the moment. He's going to be doing a wet dry vac thing, you know, shop vac, so I might interrupt this. I might redo this for YouTube. I don't know. Lightning Storm damage increased for Leshrac, 10, or basically 10 at all levels, which is pretty big actually, because in mid lane you use that to harass the enemy mid, but also take the last hits, so it makes it easier for Leshrac to get that particular situation. More health, less Diabolic Heat Explosions, that's a nerf to pushing. Late game pushing, I'm out of breath. More health for Lunette's Minor. Instead of a mana drain for the mana, it's an extra slow, which is actually better for Lion. Versus the Finger Death damage, nobody's going to take it, but they should. It's pretty big slow. Extra True Form health because Lone Druid isn't played super often. They did nerf the Spirit Bear attack time by 0.01. It's so minor, but like whatever. These are overall, the health's really good anyway, so it's nice for Lone Druid to be super tanky, but I know they're building on the bear now, so it doesn't matter. Extra cast range on the talent, extra cooldown reduction on the talent for Luna, trying to make that caster Luna more viable, I guess. I hate it, but okay. Lycan's 10 slower, huge nerf. Unbelievable nerf. Magnus Shockwave cooldown was reduced by 1 at all levels, making Magnus a little bit better in the lane. Because you can harass a little bit more. It's still not that great of an ability, but it's nice. Skewer range talent went up by 25, making Magnus better at putting people entirely out of position. You're going to see crazy Magnus plays, as there always are. So I like that. Spirit Mars mana cost starts higher and goes even higher than that. It's going to hurt Mars a lot because that Soul Ring is really essential now. Bulwark toggle will now be turned off when casting Spear Mars. I think that's because it doesn't make a lot of sense that he's using the Bulwark when you're spearing, so because you're attacking. I don't really use Bulwark ever, I'm not going to lie. It's just, I think it's to stop you from spearing from Bulwark and then moving forward, but getting stuck and having to cancel Bulwark, so I think it's actually a buff. I don't know. Instead of strength, he gets damage. It's probably worth it because he needs the damage. Instead of movement speed, he gets the cooldown, which is nice, actually. That's really nice. Going with the stun duration, too, that's really big. Yeah, dude, 12-second cooldown? Sick. Instead of that late game damage, he gets move speed. I think he needed the move speed probably earlier, but adding that Spear Mars cooldown in there is probably worth everything. This is like such a big buff. They nerfed the Sacred Arrow cooldown. They buffed Moonlight Shadow. I don't know why they keep doing this. They keep changing this Moonlight Shadow cooldown back and forth. What's up, Team Rocket? I'm just doing patch notes. I won't be much longer. Instead of 80 armor at 25, it gets 100. The armor actually increases. What's the word I'm looking for? As you get higher armor, armor means more. It increases exponentially. That's the word I'm looking for. So having more armor actually does matter. It doesn't look like it would, but it really does. It makes Monkey King like almost impossible to kill with physical damage. Like a P is going to jump Monkey King inside ult at 25 with his talent, and you won't be able to kill him. Naga, one of my favorite changes. The movement speed talent buffed, mirror image damage buffed. I know it's 1%, but it fucking matters so much. It's so big. Instead of the regular strength, the 11 gets 13. A big buff to the ensnare cooldown. 9 seconds off is huge. I would still take the mirror image, but like it makes it a little bit more desirable and like a support Naga, which you could do. That people have done it, so that's nice. It used to be back when ensnare pierced BKB, but still. So that's gonna be loud. I'm just gonna try my best to turn this away from the source of that. Rocket, if you can still hear me, let me know over that horrible din of vacuum. He's gonna be doing that for a while, but I'm almost done, so I'm gonna try to like truck through this by talking louder than I normally would. I'm also gonna turn the gain down, and then I'm gonna yell because that you can hear me. Fantastic. I'm just gonna speak loudly, and that way that is not cool. This is gonna be the worst of my patch review videos because I got interrupted twice thanks to the water leaking into my basement, and then this is gonna happen for the rest of it. Oh gosh. Nature's Prophet. Instead of move speed, he gets Wrath of Nature's base damage. That entire idea is because they don't want Nature's Prophet to chase people down. They want Nature's Prophet to be using ult. It's fine. I think this is a nerf in general. Extra Treant summoned at 15. That's minor. Honestly minor. These can be cleared so easily, but it does make him push a little bit better. So these are both towards the pushing aspect, less of the fighting. I think that's fine. I'll have to see. reduction of strength gain and int gain, making Necrophos easier to kill and less mana to kill you with. Plus damage, right-click damage. I love it. Hate Necrophos. Buff to Night Stalker, which is crazy. Dark Ascension is going to be up all the time. Nerf to the Bloodlust attack speed on Ogre. It's because it's way too good. Instead of Purification AoE, it gets move speed. Instead of Heavenly Grace, HP regen. Oh, it got buffed. Okay. Instead of move speed late, Purification cooldown. Purification cooldown is probably better than Purification AoE in the long run. So that's kind of nice late game, how it can heal everybody. The move speed getting earlier is huge. It's a wicked big buff to Omni. You're going to see a lot of Omni offlanes now because the both these level 10 talents are so good. Level 10 talent was changed to, instead of being an extra max duration, it's half of that, but it's always. So instead of max duration is increased by 8, it's just plus 0.4 at no matter how long you charge it, making even the minimum route rather long. So that's really big. Instead of movement speed, gets False Promise cooldown, which is actually probably better. Oracle's already going to be in a really, really backline position because that's what Oracle does. So the movement speed is kind of, not wasted, but it's not as important. Oracle having extra reduction in False Promise is way bigger because that means Oracle can save cores more often. An elongated fight might bring Oracle a little bit closer to being able to cast this twice. I still don't think it's a big enough reduction for twice. Where's Oracle? 40, okay, 25. No, that's actually, it could happen. It could happen. So that's really big. Essence Flux slow was increased, making OD able to kind of slow you as he fights. Sanity's Eclipse base damage went up at the later levels, which is nice because obviously the ult's supposed to be big and it sometimes doesn't feel so hot. Armor talent up, mana talent down because he does too much right click, so I think they wanted to change it so that he does other things besides just the big right click. Sanity's Eclipse mana difference went back to what it was before because it got nerfed. I think they decided it was too much. This is really nice. OD is already pretty strong, but it's nice to bring him back into a little bit of different strength that isn't just reliant on the right click. Pango Swashbuckle cast range was reduced by 100, but the slash range was increased by 100. That means that Pango doesn't go as far with Swashbuckle, making it a worse escape, but still has the overall total ability to catch you, because even though he goes a little bit less when he's going after you, his range of the actual slash goes up. This is actually probably a buff and a nerf at the same time. The reason it's a buff is because he doesn't have to go as close to you to hit you with Swashbuckle, meaning he can be at a safer distance. But it also means it's worse as an escape because it's harder for him to just be like, oh, I'm gone, because he's 100 closer to you when he does it, when he jumps backwards. So it's harder for him to get out, easier for him to poke. In lane, I think the poking is probably worth it, but in the mid game, it's going to be harder for him to get away from you, making it easier to kill. So it's going to change the way you play Pangolier as far as like positioning-wise. His mana regen was nerfed. That's huge for him. And Swashbuckle slash range was buffed, which is nice, but still minor. I think this is overall a nerf, just a buff to laning. Extra cleave, extra blur, and they changed. So controversial, it's on the Discord. You can watch me and Azzy's argument. They changed the 8% coup de grace chance, which, by the way, we were going off a different number, I forget, but whatever. They changed it from 8% coup de grace chance to proc to 100% coup de grace critical damage. So the reason this matters is because on average, PA will actually do less damage. I know that sounds crazy, but PA will do less damage, I believe. The math was like a little bit, it depends on where PA is in the game, but on like late game PA, which is when this is going to come up, PA should do a slight bit less damage on average. However, even if that's true, which I think it depends on what your actual damage is, but I'm not sure because it's multiplication, so maybe it doesn't. I can only do single instance stuff. I'm not that great with math that I can just do like trends. But number one, I think I was going off of 10% increase in coup de grace. I think. Whatever, it doesn't actually matter. Now I'm questioning my own math from PA, because I was doing math on PA, but I don't remember exactly what it was. Yeah, because I was going off of a 5% increase, so it definitely does do more damage. It does more damage now. Sorry, it did more damage before, and Azzy is right about that part. However, I don't think that matters, because the increase in damage is rather minor. So let's just say each attack that PA did, I don't know, 75 average damage higher. Because the average takes into consideration sometimes you crit, sometimes you don't. That sounds like a lot, but you're 25. It's not really that much. PA doesn't like hit like lightning speed. It's hit, 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 hit. Like, it's not a big deal. The more important thing is the implications as to how you approach. So I said, and I agree with myself, of course, that it changes the way that PA initiates. Now that the crit is bigger, and I actually posted a video on the Discord. You guys can find it there. I didn't post it on my YouTube channel. It's unlisted because it's just for the sake of the YouTube argument. It's still there, though. Now, when PA throws a dagger, that dagger does more damage than it did, of course. Duh. And that's going to determine whether or not PA initiates. So PA can fish daggers, much like PA would before. Let the dagger hit. If it crits, PA jumps on the target. So, like a Scarlet Mage is what I use in the example. Scarlet Mage doing Scarlet Mage things, PA throws a dagger. Scarlet can't really do much because PA's right there. And you can't heal on the spot unless you go back to base, so you just have to accept the dagger hits you. Okay. If it hits you and doesn't crit, PA doesn't jump. If it hits you and it does crit, you might die instantly depending on your farm level. But even if you don't, I guarantee from the numbers that if you're reasonably farmed, both of you, and PA, of course, should be ahead because she's PA, that if PA hits you with one regular attack, no crit, you will die. Almost every time. If it's a crit dagger with that extra 100%, and PA falls up with a regular attack, you should die as a support. Most of them, not counting strength supports. And because of that, it changes the way you play PA because you can poke and guarantee a kill without BKB. Now, usually when PA jumps in, you have to BKB before you jump because you're going to get stunned inside of the enemy team. But now you can dagger. As soon as you see the crit thing go, you're already hovered over them, ready to blink. You blink, hit, then BKB, and turn on whoever else is there. And you actually get that extra duration of BKB because you didn't have to pop it before you jumped. And the kill's guaranteed. No one can glimmer the target. They're dead. Like, they are dead before there's a chance. Unless they're glimmering as the dagger's coming. And if that's the case, okay, they're wasting their glimmer cooldown. So you wait till glimmer goes off and then you BKB and jump anyway. They can't really do that without risking the rest of their team. So I think it allows PA to have a safer, more reliable initiation. Now, granted, in Dota, variation's bad. Any competitive game. You want surety. You want to know exactly what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. So anytime there's a proc-based thing, you kind of go into the realm of like maybe, maybe not, and that hurts gameplay at the higher level. However, I think this is okay because you can utilize this to safely poke, and that's going to be the bigger factor. Change talent to allow another juxtaposed illusion. That's huge. PA makes everybody sad. You're going to see a lot of PA in pubs. This is huge. Plus, imagine level 30 PA with triple dagger. You could, in theory, kill somebody. If she has cleave, you will kill someone. If you get a triple dagger in which the support is next to other people, they should just die if there's a crit. Like, guaranteed they should die. Like, it's that much damage. And if PA gets something like a high damage item, like a Divine Rapier is a little bit much, but like something like that, you'll just die if it crits. Like, it's that much damage because Divine Rapier gives you 330 damage. An extra 100% on that is 330 extra. On top of the fact that it's already been multiplied by 4.5. Like, it's a lot of fucking damage. Just the Divine Rapier by itself is already over 1,500 damage. It's like 1,650 or whatever. So, like, that's a lot of damage. Not counting the PA already does like 400 before that, which gets multiplied by that amount. So it's like another like 2,000. Like, it's crazy. Oh yeah, for sure. Everybody's gonna hate PA. I think this is huge for Phantom Lancer. He likes the Phantom Rush range, but having extra illusions is always good for extra Diffusal Braid procs, the damage, all that. Confusing people. Base int was reduced on Phoenix, making it much harder. Welcome, super awesome stream. Yeah, double damage doesn't work quite the same with crit if I remember correctly, but still, it will add, of course. Like, it doesn't... I don't think double damage doubles the Divine Rapier. It only doubles base damage, but it's still going to add to that. So it's still a factor for sure. Base int reduction on Phoenix means it's harder for Phoenix to spam in lane, which is really going to hurt Phoenix's game. He usually has enough mana, but it means that Phoenix is going to actually have to have like a Clarity or a Mango or something to keep going. And that's going to hurt that early game because Phoenix is going to have to spend economy on staying in lane. The Fire Spirit's DPS went down to 15 as well, making it harder for Phoenix to burst solo. I think they're making Phoenix back into an offlaner and not really much of a mid because I know people do play mid Phoenix, but I think it's kind of going down, which is notable. Illusory Orb distance speed went up by 10%, making Puck so escapable it's not even funny. I'm fine with that because Puck hasn't played a whole lot in my bracket. Razor, talent got buffed for 2 strength, talent got buffed for either Storm Interval. talent got buffed for Eye of the Storm damage. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate Razor. It is. I'll turn it back up. Yeah, my volume was low. It's because of there was a vacuum going on in the background. That's the easiest way to explain it. But it's off now, so I turn it back up. I hope it doesn't start again, because then I'm going to have to, you know. I just hate Razor. This always makes me sad. Ricky, less damage on talent. Backstab multiplier did go up, which is, of course, balancing that out. Probably still do more damage by 20 if he takes that. No more Cloak and Dagger doesn't reveal. Instead, it's Smoke Screen AoE. Now, everybody's going to say, hooray, no more Cloak and Dagger doesn't reveal. We hate when Ricky's permanently invisible. It's so stupid. I swear I'd rather Ricky take Cloak and Dagger doesn't reveal than have that option. Smoke already has a cooldown reduction at 15. Yeah, Smoke Screen cooldown. So adding in the Smoke Screen can be bigger. It makes it so much of a counter to heroes like Anti-Mage, Quap, Storm Spirit. You know, it hurts cores too unless you have a BKB. It's just a really, really big capability that Ricky has to just shut people down. And it makes me very sad because now a late game Ricky is more terrifying to cores. Because usually Ricky doesn't hurt cores, right? The smoke sucks, but that's about it. You're fine. Now Ricky can be like, oh, I'm going to shut down all of your capabilities. I'm going to make you pop a BKB when you don't want to, because if you don't, I'm going to hurt you. Level 15, everybody takes the cast range to my understanding, so they basically said, okay, Rubik, you can reduce the core's damage even further, making them basically neutered. I don't like that very much, but it does have to compete, so it's fine. They changed Sinking's talents all around. Instead of movement speed, he gets epicenter attack slow, which is worse. Better health. Instead of epicenter attack slow, he gets extra pulses. Instead of pulses, he gets epicenter damage per pulse. So he loses the movement speed altogether, making Zanking much harder to be around and do exactly what he needs to do. But I think they wanted his epicenter to be what he's played off of, and his epicenter is nice. I just think when these talents hit is going to hurt him. It is. It's mostly a rebalance based on the 20% thing, but some people still got nerfed further. Like if you look at this talent here, this was already nerfed 20% and it got nerfed again. So I think they're trying to find exactly where they want their talents. Some needed more nerfs, some needed buffs. And then some heroes got buffs, you know, altogether. Like, you know, like Phoenix got an int nerf. Shadow Demon, instead of Soul Catcher, creates Illusion on Death, which is very strong. Instead, it got int, which is eh. I think it's definitely a nerf for Shadow Demon. I would just take the cast range, to be honest with you. Shadow Shaman got a base armor increase, making him one of the better safe lane supports, to be honest with you. I think this is very big. His trading is so good now. That's really what it's about, is trading in lane. Having the extra armor means his trading is awesome, because his damage is already so high. Increase on his health talent. Spell Amp turned to Shackle's total damage, which is worse, obviously, because the Spell Amp already affected Shackles. But it also affected his other abilities, so I'd say that's a nerf. His ward attack damage talent went down, so the Shadow Shaman Quick Ags Refresher is just worse. Which is... it already wasn't that great, but it got nerfed. So Shadow Shaman lost a lot of late game potential with his talents, but overall, I think the armor in lane is worth it. 100% is worth it. They just switched these around and changed their stats. I think that the slow is more important, so I would rather have the slow at 15. But everybody took the permanent insteal, so I guess I should consider whatever's there to be nothing. So now that they made his 15 Arcane Curse damage, nobody will ever take it. So now you get the slow at 20. Yeah, I don't know. The slow's more important, so that's actually a buff. Because of the fact that nobody will take whatever talent's at 15, because they're going to take the 2 permanent ints, I think it's fine. They changed Scarthmate's lifesteal to int. That means he does more damage, but he can't sustain himself. I think that's a buff because I don't think the spell lifesteal ever helps Skyrath sustain himself. So it's worth. Slark, extra agility, strength, and shadow dance duration. They basically just undid the nerfs they did. Good. Here we go. Sniper, one of my favorite changes. Shrapnel slow was reduced at all the early levels, hurting both core and support sniper. Assassinate Scepter Stone went down by 0.3, making it much worse on support sniper, because a core sniper would never buy an Ags. Cooldown reduction talent got reduced by 5, hurting core sniper for the Midas, hurting support sniper for the Ags builds, and the Shrapnel slow talent went down as well. This is basically trying to make sniper worse in all regards, and I'm happy because it basically punished all sniper players. Hold on while I mute myself for a moment. Your brother's banging on the floor. That's very weird. Support Sniper does need to die. I hate it. Spectre talent was reverted. Spirit Breaker's 5 faster, which is nice for Spirit Breaker because obviously he kind of needs it for his bash and also for his laning. He's really slow. He really sucks in the off lane. He's only there to soak experience. Stormhammer cooldown was reduced at all levels. That's really nice for Spen. It's very annoying, but I don't know. His laning isn't super awesome, so it's fine. His strength is buffed. Movement speed was pushed back. Lifesteal was pushed earlier. I think that's a nerf. You want the movement speed faster to farm, so I think that really does hurt Sven. So overall, this sucks, but this is nice. Yeah, absolutely. I hate that. I hate when I have a support sniper on my team. Instead of evasion, TA gets movement speed, worth less attack speed. Instead of late game movement speed, it's evasion, which is meh. It's competing with sonic trap damage, so I guess it's a fair trade. And extra refraction instances at 25, which is totally worth it, but the meld hit bash is not awesome, so I don't know. This is nice. I think this is okay. Instead of reflection cooldown, conjure image duration, which is a big buff for Terrorblade, because reflection's nice, but having longer illusions is huge. Sunder cooldown went down by another 4 at 25. It's literally unbelievably low how the cooldown of Sunder. Basically, you have to burst Terrorblade after Sunder goes off. That's the only way. You're never going to like slowly bring him down. He'll just have Sunder again, so... Yeah, absolutely super awesome stream. I agree. I hate it. I really, 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 really hate it. I hate Sports Sniper. Treant Protector. They buffed the damage talent, which is funny. They buffed the Leechy talent, and they buffed the Overgrow talent. So basically, Treant Protector just has a lot more options in his build. It's just to compete with the other things that he has, because obviously Living Armor, AoE, and stuff was better. Cooldown Reduction was nice. You know, all that. So they just had to make it compete, so you might take these. Strength gain was reduced on Underlord, making him less tanky and harder to last hit in lane, making him a little bit harder of a offlaner. His talent move speed was reduced. His cast range was buffed, though. This makes him actually kind of painful to play, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know how I feel about Underlord now. This is really big. So is the movement speed. These are really big. Decay cooldown got buffed. That's really nice in his talent, because his decay cooldown is really super awesome. Strength gain was reduced on Ursa, making it easier to burst him before he ults. Instead of mana regen, he gets Furious Wipes reset time, which is eh. Instead of strength, he gets health, which is better, actually. Just flat out better. He gets more than he did, so that's a buff. Instead of the late game Furious Wipes thing, he gets mana, but it's so long that it kind of sucks to be Ursa because you want that mana earlier. And they just nerfed the Furious Wipes. This sucks for early game Ursa. They really hurt the early game with mixing the talents around. Nether Toxin maximum DPS was increased, notably, meaning the Viper does even more damage if you're stunned inside Nether Toxin. That's, like, so painful. Absolutely, by the way. I agree with you, Unfurry. Everybody does that with all heroes. This is a huge buff. Voice Spirit's slower, which is needed because he's too strong with his ult, so I think this is a good change. They nerfed his damage and buffed his Spell Amp, which is big. His Spell Amp is huge. It's because the Astral Step restore time is so big, they had to try to balance this out to make it worth it. That's a lot of these talents, is to try to make some of them more enticing than others. This is a nice change. Shackle Shot, nobody takes that. Cold Embrace heal talent, which is probably worth it now. I don't know. Damage is really nice too, though. It's level 10, it's big. Strength gain was reduced on Wraith King, making him less tanky and have less damage. They nerfed his... okay, they changed it from a Wraithfire Blast slow duration to the cooldown, which is actually better. And instead of a percentage multiplier of skeleton spawned, it's just more. Which I think means it's a flat more. So whenever you cast it, even if there's no charges, you'll just get 6 more. I assume. I haven't tried this, but I assume. Which is actually, of course, a buff, because you can always have skeletons if it's off cooldown. They nerfed Zeus's mana regen. And this is obviously just a big change based on a lot of the talents. I like it, because a lot of the heroes that I thought were a little bit more annoying got nerfed. I'm just worried about heroes like Razor coming back into the meta. I'm sorry this took so long, because I had to walk AFK for a while. I'm not going to cut this out in the YouTube video. I know you guys are going to ask me, and well, anybody who watches it will be like, oh my gosh, you didn't cut out these breaks, even though they were only like 3 or 4 minutes a pop. It was a house disaster, so it's what am I going to do? And cutting it out actually takes longer than just posting the video straight, which people just want the content. So I always support people's ability to see when I put the break screen up, because I give you that kindness by showing that, so that anybody on YouTube can go, let me skip until the break screen goes away, and that way you don't have to wait. It sucks for you guys on Twitch, but it's already done, so that I can't edit, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to end the stream now. I was going to play, but I have to help. Yeah, they can just deal with it, Team Rocket, exactly. I have to help my dad just, like, kind of clean up and figure out where the leak's coming from. We're pretty sure it's the drainage for the entire house, meaning that, like, the dryer, washer, shower are all what's causing it, so it's probably clogged, but we have to kind of test it out to see if that's true, so that we can know exactly what it is. If it's just from the shower, we'll probably just unclog the drain, so that makes sense. I might play later, just something small. I don't know. I'll figure that out. I'll definitely be on tomorrow for DotA regardless, even if I don't come on. You guys can feel free to @me on Discord to see where I'm at tonight, because I'll be free after a little while. So I appreciate you guys for watching. I'll see you all next time.